This is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for. We are finally going to delve into how to build muscle. Pure, raw, unadulterated muscle that will allow even the most pathetic and puny among you to one day do this. Truth be told, and not to ruin it for anybody who loves seeing their favorite bodybuilder do that on video, ripping off a t-shirt is actually very easy to do.
Well, there are several factors that happen with training. The biggest one is you do bulk up, so you do create more muscle mass and grow more myofibrils. So the muscle does get bigger, bulkier, and then because there are more myofibrils, it becomes stronger. You also develop conditioning, so you're able to recruit a greater percentage of myofibrils than when you're training than when you don't.
I've presented the fundamentals of what muscle is and how it works, as well as some basic beginner principles of nutrition, how to fuel the muscle. Now let's get to the topic that any beginner watching this channel has probably been waiting for, how to actually build muscle. How do we get bigger, stronger muscles? To quickly review, there is a sense in which muscle grows by itself in the early part of a human being's life just because the human being is growing taller and the human being is growing from an infant to a toddler to a child and using those muscles, stimulating muscle growth simply by doing ordinary everyday things or learning new things. But now it's time to go beyond that. I myself am someone who wants to grow bigger muscles than what I get just from going for a walk or sitting at my desk doing paperwork or even functioning as a cashier at the grocery store. I want to increase the size and the aesthetic of what I've got. And there's a term for that. It's called hypertrophy. Most people say hypertrophy, and for years I thought that was the official pronunciation of the word. And then when I was having my nutrition interview with Bradley Barrett, he said hypertrophy.
The action of hypertrophy or hypertrophy, however you want to say it, of muscle growth.
And I briefly thought, oops, he misspoke and we've got it on video. And then I looked it up. Turns out it is hypertrophy. That is the preferred pronunciation. It looks like hypertrophy. Can't really blame people who pronounce it that way. But anyway, what is it? Very basically, it's an increase in the size of skeletal muscle through the growth of these cells and tissue. We stimulate any degree of hypertrophy by simply giving the myofibrils in the muscles something to do. As I mentioned earlier, going for a walk, or in my role as a cashier, when I take a 36-pack of beer and I pick it up and I scan it and I put it on the other belt for the customer to pick up, I've actually given my muscles a small workout. But that's everyday stuff. And if I don't stress my muscles out more than that, if I simply do the same thing over and over again, my muscles will be functional and even healthy, but they won't grow. What is the secret to growth? I have to apply a load of stress greater than what my muscles and nervous system are accustomed to. I have to challenge them. I have to pick up something heavier than what my myofibrils do every day. I have to tell my nervous system, here comes something that is going to need more myofibrils, more strength. I'm going to have to stimulate those motor neurons more to get them to lift whatever it is I need to lift or contract against that greater resistance. And that's where weightlifting comes in. It's more appropriately called resistance training because you are providing greater resistance to your myofibrils than what they are used to. And you are going to stimulate muscle growth by providing progressively stronger resistance. I specifically used the word resistance there instead of weight because it doesn't always take weight to provide resistance for the myofibrils to work against. There's a whole school of training called bodyweight exercises where you simply use your own body weight to provide that resistance and get the myofibrils stimulated. And then there's another school of training called isometric exercises where you don't really move any weight whatsoever. You simply force the muscles to contract against a stronger resistance than they're used to. I do plan to explore bodyweight training and isometric exercises in future episodes, so I won't go into them now. We will use as our visual examples the classic image of weightlifting, because that's probably what you all are looking forward to. Weightlifting and growing the muscles, providing that resistance. How does that all work? There are a couple of levels to this, and the first one is basic muscle tension. You don't have to go to the gym and find the heaviest weight you could possibly lift and get all psyched up and sit down and growl like a beast as you lift that thing and scare everyone else at the gym and then throw it to the ground when you're done and stand up and beat your chest. That's not mandatory for muscle growth. Basic muscle tension will do it. Pick up a weight that's heavier than what you normally do and start the contractions. By using that slightly heavier weight, the muscles will actually send a signal up the nervous system to the brain over time, indicating that they need more myofibrils, and the brain will then start the bodily functions that will generate more myofibrils, that will grow them, that will create that muscle tissue needed to move that new heavier weight. And then once your body can handle that, you go slightly heavier from there. It's basic muscle tension. More intense than that is the kind of stimulation that most muscle heads think of, and that is actual muscle damage, where your workout is so intense that you actually take those myofibrils and you create micro tears. You pull some of them apart just a little bit. This is not an actual tear in the muscle, which can send you to the hospital, but it's just a small breaking down of those myofibrils, ripping some of them apart to a small degree. And then what happens is, after the workout, as they grow back together, they fuse together and they form a stronger bond, and they also increase in thickness and number. Your workout sends a signal to your brain saying we need more myofibrils, and your brain kicks in those functions of the body that generate more myofibrils, and so you get a stronger and bigger muscle. It wasn't until I had a brief lesson in powerlifting from my trainer and friend Mark Prickett in 2017 that I learned a very important principle, that even above and beyond the stressing out of the muscles is the training of the nervous system. Your muscles work at all because your brain sends a signal to the motor neurons in your muscles that it's time to contract. And you can actually train your brain and motor neurons to react stronger and get those myofibrils contracting stronger. It's a basic principle of mind over matter. The better you are at signaling the motor neurons, the stronger you are. This is why if you watch someone who's about to lift a very heavy weight at the gym or at a powerlifting competition, he will go through some kind of process of psyching himself up, of getting his mind revved to lift that weight. It's a key difference between a powerlifter and a bodybuilder. A powerlifter has spent his time training both his muscles and his nervous system to lift very heavy things. A bodybuilder has focused on lifting the right amount of weights in the right arrangement of exercises to simply increase the size and then shape the muscles into a beautiful aesthetic. There's nothing wrong with either one, and I don't think either one needs to look down on the other, although there are all kinds of cliques out there in the fitness world. It's just a different kind of training, and the powerlifter has focused a lot more on his nervous system than the bodybuilder has. This difference is highlighted in a scene toward the end of a documentary film called The Perfect Physique, where two different types of lifters group together and perform a tug of war. They both look great, they're both strong, but one class of lifters clearly outdoes the other in that tug of war, in that display of raw strength, and not just visual aesthetic. And because every workout, whether you're a power lifter or an Olympic lifter or a bodybuilder, every workout uses the nervous system. In fact, every good workout should really stress out the nervous system. This is why it's a good idea to take a day of rest at least once a week. Even if you're rotating muscles, even if today you exercise the arms and so tomorrow you exercise the legs and you're thinking, well, it's been 2 days since I've exercised the arms, I can go a third day. I remember one time I just on a whim decided to go to the gym every day until I couldn't do it. I went 11 days, and on the 11th day I could tell, even though I was working a muscle group that should have been fresh and rested, the fact that I had been stressing out my entire system for 11 workouts in a row meant that I was weak. I needed that day off. So weightlifting really is about the muscles and the nervous system. You're training both of them. And that leads us to a basic discussion of two different types of muscle tissue that you have within your skeletal muscle: slow twitch muscles and fast twitch muscles. When you get up in the morning and you start to go about your day, the slow twitch muscles are the first to fire off. They are the first ones to start working. They are endurance muscles. They are long-term muscles. They are for things that are not very stressful, and they can go for a long time. If I go out for a walk, my slow twitch muscles are working. In fact, if I were to enter a marathon, if I were not worried about sprinting, but I just needed to cover those 20 some odd miles to get to the end and I was going to pace myself, the slow twitch muscles are what would get me through. If I'm at the gym using very light weights that don't challenge me very much at all, the slow twitch muscles are perfectly capable of handling that. In fact, they're so capable of handling it that my brain is able to think of other things, like doing some footwork for you while I lift these dumbbells. But slow twitch muscles only go so far. As the weight gets heavier and heavier, my muscles need to recruit more tissue, and that's where they draw on the fast twitch muscles. Fast twitch muscles are good for the sudden bursts of intense strength. The runner at a marathon, when he decides in that last half a mile to sprint like mad to the finish line in the hopes of winning, his brain kicks in the fast twitch muscles. The bodybuilder who is trying to lift a heavy weight takes the barbell off of the bench, he lowers it, and the first thing his brain does is recruit the slow twitch muscles. Now, if the weight is really heavy, it won't take but a fraction of a second for his nervous system to realize that he needs more, and his brain will kick in the fast twitch muscles to get that heavy barbell back to its extended position. There are ways to train your nervous system to fire both the slow twitch and the fast twitch muscles practically at once. And in really simple terms, that's what a power lifter and an Olympic lifter or even a strongman are training their minds and bodies to do when they work out. They're training their minds to go now when they need all of that strength to get that 315 pound or 405 pound or 500 pound barbell off the ground and into a standing position, or whatever exercise they're doing. They've actually trained their mind just as much as they've trained their muscles to go for it. While technically the discipline of growing stronger muscles and the discipline of growing bigger muscles are two different disciplines, they still overlap in that they both rely on stimulating hypertrophy through increased muscle tension or resistance and training the nervous system to strengthen its signals to the motor neurons. All right, that wraps up this basic lesson on how to grow and strengthen muscle in general. And in the next episode, the fourth in this little mini sub-series of introductory training videos, we will look at the muscle groups of the human body and how to organize them into a workout regimen. It's time for my second passing it on. These will pop up every now and then in the video series, and they are moments where I take some small piece of advice that I learned and was helpful to me, and I pass it on to you. Hopefully it will be helpful to you, especially if you are new to the whole idea of health and fitness and weightlifting and getting in better shape. And so in thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I looked back at the past 3 episodes, and while I've certainly tried to keep those simple, as I've introduced you to muscle, how it functions, how to fuel it, there is the potential for this whole discussion about health and fitness to get complicated really fast. And so if you are, like I was long ago, overweight, kind of a couch potato, and really no idea where to get started, I think this is the piece of advice I want to give you today, and it's just start really simple. You don't need a full tutorial on what to do at the gym or what to cook and eat for yourself on a daily basis, and how to count calories and just all of the stuff that the really experienced weightlifters and bodybuilders and all these people know. And so even more specific than keep it simple, I'm going to suggest that if you want to start exercising, go for a walk. Get out and go for a 15, 20, 30-minute walk. I would say 30 personally. I understand that somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes are when your body's systems do start burning calories. But just, grab a watch and go out for a walk. That's something that can be done almost anywhere. It doesn't cost a gym membership. It doesn't require special equipment. And yet it is, to a small degree, some training. It is getting your system going. It is working your leg muscles. I had people tell me when I did first start to lose weight and my body started to visibly change, people pointed out that my legs seemed to be the first to develop. Well, yes, because every time I went for a walk when I was 280 pounds, my legs were responsible for mobilizing 280 pounds with each step. So my leg muscles got some exercise. It wasn't high intensity. It wasn't, extremely difficult, but it was something. And it was getting those muscles stimulated. It was getting the system moving. It was getting calories burned off. So, if you have to grab a coat and some gloves, okay, do it. If whether it's a big city and you're walking down the sidewalk, or you live out in the country and you're walking down a nice hiking trail, just go for a nice simple walk. That's my starting advice to you. Plenty of time to get going on that anytime you want.